Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 378 at scavengerlife.com.
Welcome back, Ryan. I'm glad you're here.
Oh, thanks.
A week ago, we talked with Troy,
Yeah.
aka TSAT, on the forum, and we just thought we would have like a week where we just kind of...
Thought we'd mix it up.
A bunch of guys talk about numbers.
A bunch of guys or two. Yeah. You do like to talk about numbers.
Sure.
But you guys talk about numbers in different ways, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if anyone heard that podcast, I mean, I talk about numbers in like a baby way. And, guys like Troy know numbers like
people professional.
People that run a corporation, like a company. So
yeah.
I know our numbers just enough to know when we have enough money and when we don't.
When we can pay our bills.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I keep
important.
the checkbook balance kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, the most important news to talk about this week is Ryan fixed our coffee maker.
Yeah, this was a couple of weeks ago,
That's
though.
the absolute most important.
But it was very important. So when we were actually in New York, right before we left for New York, we have a coffee maker. It is a DeLonghi. Oh, it's called a Magnifica. It's a very fancy coffee maker. We got it off Craigslist.
$100.
We bought it for $100, which at the time I was like, you should have seen my face when Jay was like, I'll take it. I was like, what?
Yep.
It's a $900 coffee maker. It freshly grounds your coffee and makes a nice, basically espresso or Americano. It's the best thing on the planet. So it stopped working before we left, and I did some research on YouTube. There's a bunch of coffee nerds that are, they'll take apart the entire thing and show you every single part that they've replaced or cleaned or whatever. And several people said it's the pump. If it's not pushing water out, it's the pump. So luckily the pump is a super easy piece to replace. So I bought a replacement pump for $20, $25 on eBay. And I just switched it out, and now it works. Yep.
I think, I don't think you're the one in our family who deals with fixing things, and it's always amazing to me how you can just go online, you go on YouTube. Somebody has made a video about the very specific thing that you might have, the
exact
problem,
model,
and they walk you through it, and that's why I love the internet.
It's so great because at one point you were like, well, if you can't fix it, we'll just buy another one for $1,000.
Hell yeah.
I was like, we will? Really? Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd look for a used one. But the other thing about those machines, too, that you have to look out for is descaling. And you should probably descale at least once a month.
Yeah, that's for people that have hard water.
We have really hard water. So that was, I think, part of the problem is stuff was getting clogged up.
And so how much did that part cost?
It was $25, which compared to buying a new one.
Yeah, so I only bring that up as a Scavengers. That's so important. Being willing to fix it your own things is good. And we talk about this coffee maker because it is a game changer. It's not like the pods where you buy the pods and you throw the pods away. This is just where you can pour in beans and then it grinds it for you. And, it's not the kind, too, where you have to, stick in a thing and, turn it.
Like that you see at Starbucks where you have the tamper.
This is more I don't know if anyone's gone to Ikea, and some Ikeas have, the automatic coffee makers. You just put your cup in there, you choose what you want, you push a button, and it gives you a coffee.
Look,
it's delicious.
We went to Ikea. Okay, the Ikea in Woodbridge, Virginia has one of these coffee makers. Within the last, year, they installed one. And we looked at that, and it makes, the frothy, milky stuff. So it is, that is it. You could build a business around this machine, really. And I was like, oh, what if we got one of those? Oh, they're $20,000.
Yeah.
Literally, they're $20,000.
It's like an industrial, yeah.
They're $20,000. If you wanted a coffee shop or a cafe or whatever, you could. In Europe, a lot of places have those instead of the tampers. And, the employees are just like, oh, you want a cappuccino? Cappuccino button. Yeah, so I love our machine.
Adventures in scavenging.
It makes me happy to wake up and start working every morning.
For real life, yep.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I will lie in bed and be like, I don't want to get out of bed. But then I think,
coffee.
I can just push a button and there it is.
Coffee.
I was curious why a couple weeks ago I thought I had said something really brilliant.
Oh, yeah? And no one noticed?
I just thought it's just so... Yeah, it's just so brilliant.
Long-term greedy.
That term, long-term greedy, that guy had told me. So I actually didn't come up with it, but I'm sharing it with the world.
Else's brilliance.
I just think like that's such a good term for those of us in this world to, say, like,
Well, I think what's tough for me in that phrase or that idea is it's not greed. I mean, it's not greed in the traditional sense that we're thinking of it. It's more like.
Well, first explain real quick. Well, we'll try one more time, and if no one cares, then we'll stop talking about it.
Right.
Can you tell me what you think it means?
It means you have like long-term thinking about if you're saving now or, being frugal now, that you can have a sustainable financial life. I mean, I don't know if that's what he was referring to was finances, but, so later on, you don't have to be working your butt off and you can take time off and you can retire early. It's like early retirement.
Right.
So,
right. And so
I don't know if that's what.
Right. So I guess the reason why I love the term is because it kind of turns it on its head. There's the FIRE groups of people that's financial independence, retire early, FIRE.
Okay, FIRE.
And they're all about, like putting off short-term gain.
Right.
So you can own at your time in the future.
Right.
But the problem to me is in that world sometimes it can come off as very like kind of like I'm better than you, or people that do short term like making themselves feel good short term are bad people. There's there's a level of
like a stigma.
Like people who do short term, people can make fun of them or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, long term greedy means like I am greedy. Like I'm purposely putting off short term because I want money in the future and I want time and I'm not a better person. It's just I'm putting off my enjoyment till later.
Well, but technically, I don't think we put off our enjoyment till later. That's not true. But also, when you think of the traditional definition of greed, I mean, what is the traditional definition? It's like, well, long-term greedy. It's a soft, definition of what I consider greedy, where it's money without thought of humanity, or whatever.
Tongue in cheek, I guess.
Yeah. So it is kind of tongue in cheek, but okay. But I get it. So
there you go.
You're like long-term sustainable financial lifestyle doesn't sound as good.
That sounds a little bit like hippie,
or just annoying.
Yeah. Anyway,
I hear you.
Okay. So
I think a lot of people agree with that.
We'll never talk about that again.
You're weird.
So a couple things on eBay. So number one is the internet sales tax.
Yeah.
So that got there was a Supreme Court decision that happened recently, this past 3 months or so.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
Where the Supreme Court opened up for states and counties and localities to start charging sales tax on any item that's sold on the internet.
Yeah, internet. Not
just to people who live in at your state. So this opens up a whole thing, and now it's a whole thing, and we could now soon see basically an internet sales tax.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in the federal government right now. They're trying to say, instead of every state and a locality coming up with their own tax and there being a million different taxes, I think what they're trying to do is come up with one. Like
a national?
Yeah, basically like they have in England. Like they have a VAT tax. A value-added tax, which will be added on. I don't know. Kind of above my pay grade. But what was interesting is eBay sent all of us a message that said there are 3 states that just jumped on this and are starting to charge tax very soon.
Yeah.
And eBay is going to basically collect those taxes and send them to those states. It's Washington State, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma.
So here's my question, and maybe you can clarify this or someone else can. If I buy from someone who's in Oklahoma, am I paying the tax? Or are they...
So this is what I understand is, so us in Virginia, we sell to someone in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
eBay they'll add a tax to our
Pennsylvania state tax.
Yep. So let's say we sold it to them for $10. Mm-hmm. They'll add it to whatever tax it is eBay
in
will.
That state.
Like we don't have to do anything.
Okay, so it's
eBay collects it from the buyer.
So it's the buyer's location.
Right.
So if Virginia had jumped on that bandwagon, they're not paying Virginia sales tax. They're paying their home.
It's wherever the buyer is.
Okay,
right. It's not where the seller is.
Super confusing.
It's where the buyer
if you're
is.
from Pennsylvania and you drive to Virginia and you buy something in a store, you're paying Virginia sales tax.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's why people who live in wherever Massachusetts drive to where, like
New Hampshire. Yeah,
it's New Hampshire. It's no sales tax.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, it's kind of cool. So it's free. eBay's doing this for free, so we don't have to change anything.
Good.
We just sell. The buyer gets charged for it, and I'm hoping that it's whenever they come up with the final version of these taxes, that's just how it is. I mean, it's not great, but as long as eBay handles everything, it doesn't cost us anything.
Right.
We don't have to change the way we list, and as long as a seller is charged that tax, then it's fine. You know,
man, the states. I feel like the states are going to get a lot of revenue.
Well,
right.
I mean, this is where I'm going to get into a murky territory.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that up in Congress, they're trying to negotiate like a floor to it. So, sellers that sell under a certain amount a year will be excluded.
Oh, right.
And I think someone was throwing around the number of like $1 million or something.
Right.
So, you know.
So like little sellers wouldn't be affected.
It would be interesting if they.
But Target.com or Target on eBay would be,
a Wayfair and stuff like that. Right. So big companies like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it, but I guess my point is, as long as it doesn't, affect the way we do taxes and charge things, it's fine.
I mean, the funny thing is, I've never been deterred to buy something if a seller charged sales tax. I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to buy this. I'm like, I'll just, or going to a store and paying, you're not like, I'm not going to. So I feel like it's inevitable, and you're like, it's bound to happen. I'm surprised it took this long.
I mean, the argument against the internet sales tax is we who sell, it's Virginia. I just sold someone in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Why am I paying a tax to Pennsylvania? They're not giving me infrastructure.
Right.
They're not giving me any services. Right. It's the reason why people like a retailer in Pennsylvania pays taxes,
right,
or charges the taxes because Pennsylvania's making sure the roads work and there's
so people can get to your
firemen and there's all that stuff. So
of course.
But then the other argument is just that people that sell online, like we're competition to stores that are in Pennsylvania charging that tax.
No, that's a good point.
But
I don't know.
But then the other argument is the people in Pennsylvania, they should be providing a better service, so people don't want to buy online. They want to go to your store because you're giving them something special and not just selling them the same junky ass product,
Yep.
And
another thing.
Let's debate.
Yeah.
Okay. This week was not as good as last week.
In terms of numbers?
As far as our numbers go on eBay. But they weren't bad. We sold a total of 42 items for about $1,500.
Okay.
Which is a bit over $200 a day.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
Yep.
I mean, it felt slow on some days.
Yep.
Taking low dollar offers.
I think it's maybe a lot of us were doing a lot of those back to school sales or something, but not bad. Things we sold. This week we sold a couple of things that I always love. When we sell things that we had owned, I used them, and then we enlisted and we sold them. So number one, we had a light in our house.
In our kitchen. Right. It was a light fixture.
Like a sconce, I guess.
It's like a sconce, yeah.
And we bought it
years ago.
5 years ago. We used it for, up until recently.
Yeah.
We took it down because it didn't do the light I wanted.
Yeah.
And we sold it for $175.
Yeah, I don't think we paid even close to that.
I mean,
well, we wouldn't have.
Yeah, we bought it on sale.
On sale at Rejuvenation.
In Portland.
In Portland.
Yep.
We shipped it home.
We bought it on super sale and shipped it home.
We bought actually, I will say this. We bought a pair of them.
Right.
We sold the first set for $300
right.
a few months ago.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like ridiculous. Yeah.
Now, the other thing was yesterday, we sold something and you started to...
I started to laugh.
And I was like, what's your problem? And you were like, oh, don't get mad at me. I sold my old pair of shoes that I've been wearing for 3 years. You sold them for $23.
They're Nikes.
I know.
Look, these shoes... Okay, first of all, these sneakers... I bought for 25 cents at this super junky, like, yard sale, thrift store, whatever it was. 25 cents for these Nikes. I wore them for 3 years. I wore them to Europe like 4 times.
So it wasn't like everyday kind of shoes. So it's not like
they were like those were my travel shoes, really. But I got rid of them because they're lace up and they're really a pain when we're like, let's go walk around the city. I'm like, hold on, it's going to take me 4 minutes to lace up.
But like we walked all around Copenhagen and Amsterdam.
Yeah, and like
Ireland, New York.
I brought them to Ireland. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? These are still usable. They're great if someone just wants like junky running shoes for running out in the rain and wherever.
Yeah. Or somebody
$24.
You know, people they're like, those are my shoes.
Those are my
other ones is broke, you know.
Because the ones that I have now, they're also Nikes. They're like slip-on, like athletic running shoes. I have a search out on eBay for them because I'm like, these are the only ones I want. They're exactly what I want. They're, they dry super fast. They are, super comfortable.
So are you searching for like, is there like a number, like a...
No, not these ones, but they have like a certain model. It's like the Nike, I think it's called the Nike Free Connect.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have laces and some of them don't. And so I just search for those. And if I see a good price, I like... either bid on them. I have 2 pairs right now.
I just think it's interesting, and I just love that. Again, having a Scavenger Life. Hey, that's a great name.
Yeah.
Where we use things and then sell them.
You didn't want me to sell those shoes, though.
I was just like, why are you going to sell those? They're dirty old shoes.
I want to make $25.
But you know what? Instead of us buying old shoes from a store, and someone else had worn them for 3 years, we just happen to wear them for 3 years.
That's kind of right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've sold sneakers where I'm like, somebody definitely... I have a limit to how worn out, running sneakers are going to be.
Yeah,
but...
and the person can choose to return them if they don't enjoy them. So it's all on the up and up.
They're still super comfortable.
I just love that. It's just like the most...
Yeah.
It's the most scavenger thing you can do,
Oh, it's one of the most scavenger things. Yeah. You're like, I bought this for a very low price. I used it for many years.
And then
I sold it and I made money. How's that possible?
I love it. And then this week, this is just my obsession because I was really worried about it. When we went to that auction, we bought like 4 tables of potteries and
dishes
and glassware. And I was just so worried because we don't really know a lot about this stuff. It's kind of new for us.
Right. It helps when things are marked, and some of them aren't.
And this week we sold $55 of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, it's a good example of you don't have to be an expert in anything to start to sell something. You just have to be willing to do the research. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff has the name on it, and you just see what the name is.
Yeah, and then, that always helps.
And then the stuff that doesn't, you just try and do your best, put a price on it, and we do a lot of make offers.
Yeah.
Someone came on the forum recently and was there. They said that they were really into pottery. It seemed like they were really into like American pottery
like vintage.
And and they were just talking about how they're really into the market and they know the community, and they were trying to explain to everyone about, how people collect pottery. Mm-hmm. But the prices he was throwing out, like, it didn't seem like that much, He was, these really cool vases. He was saying, like, $30. I'm like...
Yeah, and you're like...
I would think it'd be more than that.
Right.
And for us, we find that if you put a make offer, if you price strong and put it to make offer, then people start doing offers, and then you kind of see what the price people are willing to pay. I find like we actually do pretty well on pottery. Like we sold that dish thing for like $86. I mean,
that was $86 for that casserole dish. Yeah, because it's a really nice brand. Like whoever had all that stuff in their house, like to buy expensive.
But
stuff.
I will say, we couldn't have done this without the storage we have now. Like our pottery takes up 4
shelves,
5 long warehouse shelves.
Yep.
Because you can't really stack it.
And when you say shelves, you don't mean shelf units. It's like actual individual
shelves.
Right,
like actual, so we have these kind of warehouse shelving. Each one has 3 shelves.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just like, we can't buy more of that stuff. Like, it's got to sell. We got to sell a bunch because there's just... I want to take up like 3 more shelves. Not really.
That was our experiment for sure.
Yeah.
And how do you find that stuff? Because we have it kind of grouped in like glass and ceramics and plates.
I just look on the shelf, man. I'm like, well, there's a stack of plates, and I can kind of see that one because it's the one I sold last week was a Wedgwood and it was black. I was like, there it is. So it reminds me of replacements.com, where that's how they do their storage, where they're like, all the Wedgwood and all the, Spode, they're just on shelves and they see it. They're like, I'm sure they have a SKU system, but they're like, there it is. Like, it's not packaged.
And they just have a gigantic warehouse.
Right. And so, I mean, that's kind of how you have to do it with weird items like that, where you just have to stand there, like mugs. We have all the mugs hanging, and we've sold actually quite a few mugs in the last couple of weeks, oddly. And, I just have to look underneath the way they're hanging.
Hooks,
And I'm just like, there it is. Like there's no rhyme or reason. You're just like, that's the one I'm looking for.
And again, we've talked about it multiple times with people on the forums that mugs are like a love-hate thing.
Right.
People hear about how you can sell a mug for $20, and mugs are almost basically free.
Yeah, I mean most
you go to places in
Goodwill, it's 25 cents a mug.
And people go mug crazy, and then they come home and they're like, nobody wants these. And I think we've kind of found our happy place with mugs, where we don't buy a lot of them, but I think we've just gotten good at knowing what's
kind of weird and quirky,
collectible,
like for example, the mugs I sold this week, one of them said like it was like the logo of the CIA. I actually had 2 of those, and the same guy bought both of them like a month apart, which was really weird.
We live near Washington.
We live near DC,
so I think that it really is like that, like a mug that someone at the CIA worked.
Yeah, I really think it's like someone who worked at the CIA or wherever. The other one was this like vintage computer network from like the 80s, like one of those, like, what is it called, like a BBS group or whatever. Like, it was so, you're like, I bet there are 4 people out there that know what this is, but somebody bought it.
Yep.
So it's like, it was probably like before America Online,
and paid us like $25
and paid me like $25 for that. But again, we live near Washington DC, so I'm sure it was like some government worker that, had a computer and a modem back in the 80s, like had this mug.
But that's a difficult thing with a lot of pottery we see, is that it doesn't often have a name on it.
Right.
Or a thing, and then it just looks cool, and then how do you describe just something that looks cool?
Right.
I mean, it's just, it's tough.
Yeah.
So, and that stuff is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Like, we went to a thrift store yesterday. I swear, it was almost like they had an entire room of mugs and like wine glasses. Right. It was just like, I actually couldn't even look at any of them, because I was like, this is too much for me.
Yeah.
This is like too much.
I feel like recently, and we've talked about this, in the 10 years we've sold online, we just go through phases of like, we're really into thrift stores, and then we're really into yard sales, or we're really and right now we're really into auctions. Like, we have to evolve and be willing to change based on what is fun to us. And right now, when I go to thrift stores, it kind of depresses me.
Yeah.
Because either they're like a Goodwill, which is basically like a used TJ Maxx.
It's basically TJ Maxx,
and it's not very exciting to me. Or just thrift stores pop up, and it's basically garbage, you know?
I mean, the place we went yesterday, we've been there before in the past, and I found stuff there in the past. This is one we don't go to very often. I was just like, I got to get out of here because it's just so overwhelming and junky.
And I'm not saying someone else could walk in the door right behind us.
I'm sure people could find stuff.
And be excited and see it for what it is. Again, it's just we have to be honest with where we're at with our thing. That just doesn't excite me right now. Talk to me in a year or two, and I might be back in there. Now I'm more about going to auctions, like, because I like the idea of getting closer to where stuff is coming out of people's homes.
Well, also, and it's like, there's certain auctions, depending on where you are, where you're getting closer to the wealthier areas. And like the thrift store we were in was in kind of like, you know, a lower income area. And, you know, you're like, that's the kind of stuff that's going there. So let's go to where the money is, which is like in the city. Yeah.
It's true. Okay, scavenge of the week. We have two things. Number one is I bought a Coyote. From the dump. You
didn't buy it.
I didn't buy it. So we live in a rural town.
Yeah.
We don't have trash pickup here.
We have to go to the landfill.
You know, Ryan doesn't like to advertise this, but you know, we have a truck, and our trash is basically we just throw it in the back of my truck, and then when it gets kind of full, and when I'm going near the dump, I take it there. And I actually been going there a lot lately because of renovating that building. Yeah. I've just been every day taking a truckload of sheetrock and just wood junk. And just junk. And so I know the guys who work at the dump. And when I showed up there, they had someone had a stuffed coyote. Not just a coyote head, an entire coyote. Right, no, I mean, and normally, anytime I've seen it's one of these, they've really been in bad shape. Because usually the fur is messed up. But it was actually in really good shape. And I said, I love that thing. And they said, here, take it. And so they gave it to me. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and so, and if this again is something new to me, but I knew that people enjoy these things. Yeah. If we can make sure it's clean, smells good, is good, I think we could get $300 to $500 for it. Yeah, I hope so. Because we looked at solds for the full stuffed coyote, and some of them sell for over $500. Taxidermy. And I have some friends that are really into taxidermy, like super hipsters, whatever. Right. And ironic taxidermy. I don't even know if it's ironic. Like, I don't know. They just like it, and they have it in their house, like, everywhere. Along with their cabinet of curiosities or whatever. Yeah. But so that was a weird find. You brought it into the house, and I was just like, what? It scared our cats. It scared me. Because it has like the He's way, howling. Yeah, the way that they did it was like it's got its teeth bare. It's pretty, like it's like growling at you. Yeah. And then the other thing was, it wasn't for eBay, but it is scavenging. You know, we are renovating this building, and we have bathrooms. We have 3 bathrooms and 2 cooking areas we have to kind of do. We have make out of nothing. And we go to the Restore, which, if you Google that, is run by Habitat for Humanity. I don't know if they're in every single state. But we've been to them in other states. That's true. Just Google it, RE and then Restore. It's basically a Goodwill for construction material. Right, house stuff. Everyone is different, and it's really a grab bag. You know, you can't tell what they'll have. And we went to one near us, and they had a lot of faucets and stuff. And we bought 5 really nice faucets. Yeah. It's like solid brass, chrome on the outside. Right. You want the solid brass because those things will last forever. Yep. I mean, I have some faucets that are not solid brass, and after a while, you're like, I have to replace this. Very exciting. Thing. But, you know, again, it's like any thrift store. It's not like you can go in and just buy stuff easily. You have to go through it. You have to dig. You have to look on every shelf. You have to make sure all the parts are there. Especially with plumbing, like specialty plumbing. You're like, is everything here? But it's exciting. Yeah. So that was cool because we're starting to gather, and it's so affordable that we bought a couple extra ones just in case. Like,
well, if this one doesn't work, we'll use this one.
Yeah.
So
it is cool.
That was kind of cool.
Customer issues. I don't know if other people have been having this. It's happened to us the past month or so.
Yeah.
Where people will buy an item and then immediately cancel it.
Yeah, or give an offer, you accept it, and they immediately cancel it.
It's strange. I can understand the offer because maybe, especially if the offer came like in the middle of the night, we accepted, and then the morning, and then it canceled because maybe they had done several offers.
Right.
We accepted too late, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's even happened to us where someone just buys it outright,
right,
and then immediately cancels and says something like it's a mistake, and you know, it's all fine. They can do that. It's just
odd. Like when it happens frequently, you're like, "What is something happening?" Where like,
right?
Have
they changed? Has eBay changed the
buying process where people are more frequently accidentally? Yep. I mean, other than like most people who buy stuff by accident, and they're like, "This got bought in my pocket." You know, they'll say that, but nobody's been saying that. They're just like, cancel.
But it's happened 3 times in
it's week, really odd.
And then, unfortunately, this is a return that's in its process right now. We sold a rug, like a big... a
9 by 12 rug. The thing was huge. It weighed almost 40 pounds to ship.
And he said that it was too big for his space, and he's going to return it, which he can do. No problem. It's just, those are the returns.
$350 return. I'm like... Ugh.
He's, and he's not saying we did anything wrong, so whatever. Yeah. But... I mean, it's just weird. He says it's too big. The measurements are on there. It's just one of those returns you're really like, oh man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to take And this is where we really get kind of burned by the free returns.
Right.
Because,
I'm paying shipping back.
That is not cheap to ship, so...
Yeah, it really sucks.
So, I don't know. I mean, we just kind of did free returns on everything, and obviously people will be telling us, like, well, don't do free returns on heavy things. Rugs. Yeah. But then it just means like we have to remember to turn that off on certain items. But
well, at this point, I won't forget because.
But that's also why we have the extra $1 per item we sell to kind of handle these returns where someone just decides that they don't like something.
Yeah.
Okay, things we learned in the forum. Your mom sent us a screenshot, and I posted it to the forum. Where she noticed on an item she was checking out that eBay now has like an Amazon-like it's recommended thing,
or it was
bundling
like
system.
It's what's funny about it is like they're like other shoppers buy these similar items together, which is weird because it was like clothing items, like used clothing items. So I don't know.
Right, where like Amazon have that where it's like, okay, I want a potato peeler, and then down at the bottom it'll be like people also buy a potato head and
or whatever, like
a fryer
and a potato masher,
and then it tells you buy them all for $126.
Right, like bundle them together.
Amazon had this on her page. And the other items,
eBay had it,
eBay had it, and the other items were in other people's stores.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I guess if you said, I'll buy them all, you're actually buying 3 items from three different people.
It puts them in your cart, I guess.
I mean, obviously people will be like, oh, that stinks because they're selling other people's items on my page. But I guess the answer would be, hopefully, your items.
Stuff is on someone else's page.
Yeah.
But eBay's done that for a while, not with those words or anything, but they have like, they're like, here are other similar trench coats or whatever, and there's like 20 down below, and they're not yours, so it's the same thing. You're like, they...
Now, I personally haven't seen that, but she sent a screenshot and I posted it to the... a forum.
Like, I haven't seen it looking on eBay yet. I don't know if it's just being implemented in certain views or certain users.
Which, I don't know how I feel about it. I just feel like...
You know how I feel? I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, my stuff is selling.
Yeah.
Like,
as long as my stuff is selling.
It's not affecting me.
Yeah. I guess I just think of it as just like, eBay is just continually just basically kind of just copying Amazon, which I guess...
Like, that's a blatant copy of Amazon. I guess
if Amazon works, then
just do that.
It's just like Facebook copies, Snap or whatever those other,
Snapchat.
Snap. Yeah.
You are an old man.
I don't do that stuff. But I know that they do that. They'll, Snapchat will come up with something cool. And Facebook will just outright copy.
Well, Facebook owns Instagram, and Facebook was like, hey, do this. It's called a story or whatever. And like Snapchat, like overnight was worth nothing. It was like, okay.
Yeah. So, it's nothing wrong with copying stuff that works, but it's
kind of blatant.
Yeah. I always want to be like, let's not do this, but
oh my God,
let's do it.
You're so weird.
What did we cook this week?
What did you just cook that was
It's just
delicious?
such like a weird like transition. We're talking about like all these things and then suddenly like, what'd you eat?
What'd you eat on?
So what Ryan has gotten us addicted to are quesadillas.
Yeah, because...
Yeah, they're great.
Okay, so I think we talked about this before. The low-carb wraps. Yep. You can buy low-carb wraps. We don't know how they exist. People on Amazon were like, they have lots of fiber, so therefore they have low carbs. So I'm like, what? Okay.
I'm like, I'll just keep telling me that.
I'm just going to eat them. Yeah. So I also went to Walmart the other day and bought like 2 huge bags of black beans because you can make them really easily in the Instant Pot. Super cheap. They taste awesome. They're so good. I pop in a cube of like chicken bouillon cube in with the water. It tastes really good. And we had some meat from the farmer's market. We do a CSA and they do lamb meat. And we actually had a bunch of credit. And yesterday we bought all this lamb meat and it was ground lamb. And you cooked it up with the black beans and we had like awesome tacos just now. They were so good.
And we've just been basically just the tortilla, you just throw anything in there. Fish.
Yeah, it's like fish tacos.
Whatever.
Yeah, so our CSA's been giving us a ton of eggplant and like sweet potatoes. So I've been like roasting the vegetables in the oven and then we just kind of throw them in there.
If you decide to work on it your own, quit your job, that's what happens.
You need an Instant Pot.
If you have time to cook. And so
look, my sister just became like freelance basically because she like had sort of an office job for like 8 years or something and she finally like left that job and we bought her an Instant Pot as a present.
It's kind of like
like, hey, time to be frugal and cook at home and be a freelancer. She was so excited.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah.
Okay, our coming week, we are going to an auction.
We are going to an auction.
We're going to try out a new auction.
Yeah.
Because it's good to do that. It's
mix it
just
up.
like anything.
Why not?
Like, go to different thrift stores, go to different auctions, and it's going to be fun. Yeah. I noticed that now that we have... helpers, like we have one helper that comes every single week. She works 12 hours
12 hours a week.
We are cranking through stuff,
like we ran out of stuff, so we need to go to an auction. We're close
we're at the edge of running out of stuff, so I know if we go to an auction on Tuesday we'll be able to get a truckload of stuff,
load up on stuff,
and hopefully that will hold us over for a month or two, how much stuff we buy. Over at our anyone interested, this building we're fixing up.
Yep.
Me and my buddy, we exposed the brick.
Yes.
On probably a quarter of this big space we have.
Yep.
I'm thinking about doing the whole space, but it would have
taken so long.
Forever. But it's so cool. This building built in the 30s?
30s. I think 28.
Yep. And it's a solid brick building, which they don't do anymore, where it's like brick all the way through.
Right.
It's like 2 courses.
Yeah.
And so we actually took off all the plaster on it, the horsehair.
So
plaster.
First you took off all the drywall and there was like steel holding the drywall up. Steel studs. Yeah. And then, so you had to take all that down. And then there was, horsehair plaster that you had to scrape inch by inch.
Well, basically, my buddy had a hammer.
Yeah. It's like an electric hammer?
Yeah.
Like a jackhammer type thing? Like a mini...
It's like a drill hammer.
Yeah.
And he was cutting it off.
Chipping away at it.
But then it was real, kind of still dirty and messy. So I went behind him with a grinder with a brush on it.
Yeah.
And ground off all the pieces
this
that
is
were
literally
still there,
brick by brick.
to where, it's not perfect, but it looks so cool now. got that red.
It looks
brick,
so good.
And on the whole back of the building. So when people walk by,
in, that's the first thing.
Going to see all that brick.
It looks so good. And actually, we thought the walls were block with a brick facade.
And that's what everyone told us.
Yeah, everyone was like, oh, it's just block.
Yeah.
But they were wrong.
Right.
So.
But we knew it had to be brick. We believed, and we basically cut a hole in the wall.
Yeah, just to see. Because it looks so good. It looks so good.
Yep.
People who build restaurants or whatever, I mean, they'll put fake walls that look like that up. And we have a real one.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
So that was our work. So we're actually going to take a couple of weeks off from working on that building.
Yeah.
It got to be a lot of work, and we're kind of at a point where if we need to get some other stuff done, it's before we can do other things. It's kind of like a whole process. You know?
Well, and the person you're working with is going away for a week.
True.
So it was kind of perfect timing.
It worked out perfectly.
So we're like, okay, let's just take a little break.
We, at this point, him and me have basically demolished and taken apart everything that needed to get taken apart.
Right. It's all building up
We've
now.
Torn it all down to as far as we want to go.
Right.
And now we start to build it back up.
Right.
And install brand new stuff of everything. And so now it's about, anyone that's ever done a renovation, I don't know, in working as your own contractor, it's about organizing people. This guy, the electric guy's busy, he can't come till this time.
Right.
And the plumber, and So that's what we're doing.
Yep.
And we just need to keep making money.
That's right.
Sell them old shoes.
Whew, sell those old shoes you wore for 3 years, Ryan.
It's good. Okay, let's answer questions that people called in about.
You can always email us an audio file. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com. Or you can call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey, what's going on, Scavenger Life? This is Verizon Picks out of Pennsylvania. I wanted to talk a little bit about returns. Been having some kind of odd buyers in the last 2 weeks. Seeing that people are trying to get around the return shipping by saying that items or pieces are missing, which are actually not even included or shown in the pictures or description. I had gone through with eBay customer service for a coffee maker, and this buyer had actually asked about a filter that is optional that could go in the water tank, and lots of back and forth saying, asking questions. They actually accepted an offer and did not make payment, and then just sent a slew of questions before making payment. And they actually agreed. I told them that these pieces were not included. They went ahead, made payment, I shipped it, and then of course a day after them getting it, said that, these pieces weren't included, and it just seems like total buyer's remorse. Called eBay, did not accept the return, just out of out of good conscience. But eBay basically said that as I happen to be a top rated seller, and this is a case where you do have to pay up front for them to return it, and then I have to call back and get them. eBay will actually eat that return shipping. I believe this is part of the new seller update for returns. So kind of crappy there. I had another return for a cowboy hat. The person got it and said it was shaped. He didn't like the shape. I offered half of their money back and said, hey, take it to a hat shop, get it shaped however you like. And that partial refund sat for the full 30 days. They never replied back to that, and it gets closed out automatically, but it will sit for 30 days. But you get to keep all your money if they flake on that. Anyway, just wanted to finish up with that idea of on the returns. This idea that a buyer, it seems like a buyer can pretty much just return anything and make up any reason. It's kind of disappointing. I guess it's kind of pick your battles, or how do you work around that? Thanks.
Okay, number one, this is a lot here. Okay, that is super annoying, that return where the person makes an offer, asks them, you accept it, then starts asking all its questions, and then you answer, then they buy it, then they pay you, then they get it, then they complain,
and then they want to return it.
I get it. We've had these buyers before. From what I understand, and Ryan, I want you to be the final word here. From what I understand, you always have to accept a return.
Yep.
So, and then once a return happens, then you can deal with all the details.
Yep. Right. So when you said that at first, when it was like, oh, I didn't accept the return. Well, okay, that means you're definitely not in the free returns program. And number two, eBay will make you accept the return because the buyer, the buyer could do nothing. And like you said in the other example, 30 days go by and it just closes itself out. But the buyer can force a return. They can call eBay and be like, give me a refund. And then at that point, they just get a refund. They don't have to send it back. So at this point, like we were talking with that rug even, we just have to accept the return. Like there's no option to be like, deny.
Right.
Like you just can't.
So can you help clarify? So someone on the forum came and they said that, someone's going to return something.
Yep.
They didn't like it. They're blaming the seller, but the seller didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
From what I understand, you accept the return.
Yep.
You get it back. Then you give them a refund, and you can choose what to refund them. So you can just say, well, just give them the price of the item. Don't give them the
shipping.
Shipping. The buyer can then say, no. I want to dispute that. And then they ask eBay to get involved, and eBay decides if you should pay the shipping.
And from what I've done, for example, I think the forum example was the woman said, these shoes hurt my feet. You're like, okay, that's not really my fault. And so she said, item not as described. Right? Yeah. So you're just like, okay. So you accept the return. You say, fine. You don't say anything. You're like...
Yeah, just
you just accept it. Ship it back. One thing is, they might not even ship it back. So then you get it closed. But if they ship it back, you have the choice, send a full refund with the original shipping. Now, you're in the free returns program. So you're going to pay return shipping no matter what. So you have to pay return shipping. That's just part of the deal. I know it sucks. Whatever. So then you get a thing that says, here are your options for what to refund. And you can just say just the original price of the item. And in some cases, I've even seen you're allowed to even do a restocking fee. I've never done that because I'm like, that's really going to tick the person off,
Especially, if it's not a brand new item. Or whatever,
So that is the way it goes. And then, of course, the buyer has, I don't know how many days to dispute it. Anytime the buyer's ever disputed it, eBay has covered that cost for me. They've said, okay, we see through the messages this is buyer's remorse. Or I don't even know if they say that, but I'm assuming that's what they're looking at. And they're like, we're refunding the buyer, the $7 original shipping without cost to you.
Right.
That's what's happening so far.
Right. So for us, it's like we get the buyers that can get kind of, picky and complicated. And for us, it's just, you don't even talk to them.
Yeah, you don't even see.
Because you're not going to convince them of anything. Accept the return.
Yeah.
Just refund them the price of the item.
Yeah.
And just be good with that.
Exactly.
Jay and Ryan, this is Tony Kaz in Michigan. I have an interesting thing. My wife Judy has been listening to the podcast as I'm listening to Ryan, and my wife decided that she would like to go out and buying stuff, and we picked up on your tip to use dollar bills and quarters. and it works like a charm. No more $20 bills or $100 bills or $5 bills, all ones and 15 or 20 quarters. Magic. And I think I've come up with a realization what makes you guys very, very, very unique. You guys are long turnover specialists. Everybody in retail, manufacturing, distribution, groceries, every business in the world is rapid turnover. Rapid turnover, rapid turnover. Nobody has a turnover that lasts a year or longer. Grocery stores like a 2 or 3 day turnover. You guys specialize in long turnover times. And that's what the term is, turnover. And that's what makes you unique. You specialize, you're promoting long turnover. And rather brilliant. It's my wife saw your video of how you bought a little house back in 2008 or something, and it was a wreck. She's amazed at how you, in 10 years' time, you've gone so far. Of course, you're youthful. You're very, very youthful. Judy and I are in our 70s, and we don't have the advantage of that powerful energy you guys have. We did once, but we don't any longer. So, congratulations on your formula, your successful formula. I think you learned the hard way, and you learned, and it's a great story. Dollars and quarters and long turnover time. It's amazing. I congratulate you. Thank you very much. Ryan has converted my wife into an eBayer. How about that? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tony Katz, I'm glad you called in again. Yes, That's very exciting that your wife is now on board. Although
that is cool.
I hope we didn't create a monster for you, because the easy and the fun part is the buying.
Right.
I hope she's not going to just go out and buy
list it.
Carloads of stuff and stick it in front of you and make you put it up on
list
eBay.
It and sell it.
You got to make her eat her own dog food, make her actually take pictures of stuff and list stuff,
and talk to buyers and deal with returns.
Yep. But that's really, I think we talk about it. That's the way we sell. Anyone can sell the way that they want. Other people may do it in a different way and maybe even more successful.
Yeah.
But we find the buy and hold.
Yep. Long turnover, wait, long tail.
List it and forget it. Works for us.
That's just what works for us.
Yep.
That's, yeah.
Yep.
And yes, dollars and quarters if you go to yard sales.
Yep. We will go to the bank before we go to flea market, and we'll ask for $100
$1 bills.
And they'll just hand you a stack of $100 bills.
We just split them up, put them in our pocket. Yep. Because if someone's asking $4 and you're like, how about $2?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, and you hand them a $5?
Yeah.
Well, they're like,
yep.
Well, you had $4.
And I will say a trick that we've never used, I don't know why, because it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
You can go to the bank and ask for $2 bills. They're, they in circulation. And people say if you have $2 bills, because they're so kind of rare, if
people
someone
think
says,
it's cool.
Yeah, I want $5 for that, and someone's like, well, I just got a $2 bill, people will actually sell it to you because they think
it's so cool.
The $2 bill's special in some way.
I think that's a Stephen Schultz trick, right? I think it was him originally.
I forgot.
It was
you know what? I think it was, yeah.
Yep.
So
that's a great trick.
You're like, how about a $2 bill?
They don't still make $2 bills, right? But they still exist. I don't think they don't make them. They don't make them now. They just they're so rare that they're still sitting in storage.
But I think you can get them at banks.
Yeah, I think you can still get them, but I just don't think they have new versions of them.
Yeah. So yeah, they don't actually print them, but they are in circulations.
Yeah. Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can call and leave a question on the voicemail line. Again, the phone number is 540-407-8486, or you can email us an audio file from your phone to the email address thescavengerlife@gmail.com. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, currently being brought to you by Stephen Schultz. You can subscribe to our Patreon account for as little as $1 a month, and that helps us pay for our server fees and stuff like that. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube, so you always get the latest episode for free. Okay, we are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Real quick, I made a mistake. They still do make the $2 bills.
They do?
Yep, I was wrong.
Weird.
You heard it here first. Bye.
You heard it here second. Because it's a $2 bill.